name is Makoti V, and I'm straight from Ndlunkulu's kitchen with myself, Makoti V. So, things have been happening where I was not able to serve you delicious food, but I'm back and I'm ready to bring you back into my kitchen and get your taste buds flapping all around. Starting with today, I'm going to be showing you something absolutely easy and simple to make. Let's face it, Christmas is over. However, guests still show up at your house unannounced. You need to feed them, right? Make yourself look like you're a master chef. Of course. Well, that's what my duty is today, to make sure that you are the top master chef in your kitchen at home with simple and easy recipes to follow. I'm going to show you how to make a delicious dessert, which is a caramel and walnut tart. It takes just 4 ingredients and it takes less than 1 hour. So please do follow this video if you want to learn how to make this delicious dessert for your family and for your guests. Also, please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is Ndlunkulu's Kitchen with Makoti V. So that you can be the first to know when I do drop new videos with new delicious meals and recipes. All my love, stay tuned. Mise en place is very important, which I stress in most of my videos. It's basically putting into place the stuff that you need so you don't end up starting with your pot at the stove and then running around for your ingredients. Speaking of ingredients, what are we going to need for our caramel and walnut tart? Well, walnut obviously, because it's in the name, right? So I have about 200 grams of walnuts that are shelled and halved. You can be adventurous and use another type of nut in this recipe depending on your preference. You will need 200 grams of caster sugar, 100 grams of butter or Rama margarine, cut into cubes. Leave it to chill in the fridge until you're ready to use it. You will need 200 ml of pouring cream, which is just normal cream that you find at the store. And you'll need 3 tablespoons of cold water. So leave the water in the fridge to chill until you're ready to use it. The type of utensils we need would be a pie dish like this, preferably one that has the bottom that pops out. So when your tart is ready, it can come out easy. If you don't have it, it's fine. You're going to be putting some spray and cook at the bottom, so you shouldn't have any issues. We'll be needing obviously a pan, your stove, electricity. We'll be needing a rolling pin and a spatula or any spoon that you have. The one thing about recipes and cooking at home as a home cook, you can improvise with what you have. You don't need to go out to the store to buy new equipment. So that's basically it. I'm also going to be showing you something with popcorn. Sounds a bit weird, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing with this a bit later. So that's basically all you need to make this delicious tart. So for this dish, we are going to be making the base, which is actually a crust, which is going to go for our tart. You can use simple recipes that you find on the net to make it from scratch at home, but why give yourself the headache? You're just going to get today's pastry from a store and you're going to roll it out. This is actually the original short crust pastry. Ta-da! So we have our pie dish here. I've already sprayed it with some spray and cook, hence I'm choking already. And I'm going to show you what to do. So I'm going to be unpacking my short crust pastry. Just getting it out of the packaging. It's very conveniently packed for you to use. You don't even need to roll anything out. But I'm just going to open it up like this so you see what it looks like. That's the sheet that we need. This sheet will need to cover our pie dish, so we're just going to measure to see. It's perfect. But what I'm going to do also is take some flour and just sprinkle it on my work surface. I'm going to turn this over onto the flour so that I don't get any stickiness anywhere. Putting a bit more flour here. And we're ready to pop this onto our pie dish. So by taking my rolling pin, I'm just going to put my rolling pin onto the pastry, roll the pastry onto the rolling pin so that I can lift up the pastry easier. Bringing in my pie dish there, and then this goes in on top like such. Now this pie tray is not that big, which is good. And also the dough is quite elastic-ish, so you can stretch and fit wherever you need to. So what we're going to be doing is pressing down onto the surface of your pie dish. Make sure you're filling the edges also. Make sure the bottom is nice and full as well. Just pinch around the sides where you need to, so that you don't have any issues. Right, all are filled properly. In order to trim the bottom, or actually the top, you just take a rolling pin and go over the surface of your pie dish, and easily your extra crust pastry is removed and you're left with that. Okay, so it often happens that when this goes into the oven, because of the air that's not escaping from below, what happens is that the pie crust, or actually the dough that you're using, it starts off baking unevenly, where you're going to get bubbles, and then eventually it's going to end up looking like a wavy, crisp wafer, which you don't want. So in order for us to keep this baking flat and staying perfect, we're going to do a little trick. We're going to use a piece of parchment paper, which is basically just wax paper, and we're going to put this on top as such. Remember I mentioned popcorn. We're supposed to be using something called baking beans, which are quite pricey. You'll find them at baking stores. However, you can use things such as popcorn seeds, you can use sugar beans, you can use rice, even samp if you want to. And we're just going to throw this on top, so that this creates a bit of a weight, which will hold down the pastry when it is baking, so that it does not start curling in the oven, so that when we take this out, we have a nice flat base. So just put more than a cup like this, and this is ready for the oven. Before we go into the oven, put our piece of parchment paper at the top, and on top of that we've added some of our popcorn seeds. As I said, that is for putting a weight on top of the pastry, so that when it is in the oven, it does not bake unevenly. So before we get to the oven stage, we're going to let this pastry chill as is for 10 minutes aside while we wash up our workstation. Thereafter, it's going to be put into a preheated oven at 190 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we're going to remove our pie dish, take out the popcorn seeds and the parchment paper, and then put it back into the oven for another 5 minutes. And after that 5 minutes, your blind baking is done. Google it. Okay, so time has passed. Our pie crust or tart base is done. We're going to leave that aside. Now we're going to move on to the filling. So I'm going to show you exactly what to do. You're going to get a medium-sized pan. We're going to put the heat on a gentle heat for now, right? So it's going to be maybe around 3. What we're throwing into this is our caster sugar, just in like that, and our 3 tablespoons of water, so cold water. So we're going to allow that to start melting. The cold water will melt the sugar to create a caramel, and it will happen in a more controlled manner rather than using hot water. Right? So we're just going to let all of this melt. You can mix it around a bit just to get all of the sugar dissolving into the water. Remember, it has to be on a gentle heat, so let's not rush anything. Once the caster sugar has dissolved into the water, we're then going to increase the heat, maybe 1 heat level higher, and we're going to allow some bubbles to happen in our pot. That should be done. So you can leave it there without stirring. You can stir it. Sometimes we get a bit impatient, so we're going to wait for some bubbles to appear before we add in the next ingredient. What do you think the next ingredient is? Do you know? Okay, so we're going to see some bubbles happening here. What we are going to do is we're going to remove our pot onto the surface. We're throwing in our butter, 100 grams of rama that goes in, and we're going to stir it in until it dissolves. Keep it off the heat for now. Just put my stove on pause. So the butter also allows for the caramel to become a nice color, which you will see. Preferably leave your butter at room temperature. You can put it into the fridge, pop it out just before you start making this dish so that it melts a bit faster. That's a note to self. Okay, it's almost melted. I'm returning back to the heat. The heat is on a moderate heat. Melting in the butter. Just increase the heat a little bit more because the butter is being a bit stubborn. And once the butter is melted, we then adding the 200 ml of boiling cream. That goes in just like that, and we're going to keep mixing. We can increase our heat a bit more, and we're going to try and get this to a consistency where when you are pushing in and pushing through your spatula, it's leaving gaps at the bottom of the pot. So it's coming to more of a gel consistency. Let's get that higher. If you're looking for a darker caramelized color, you could have left your sugar and your water on the stove for a bit longer before introducing your butter to it. But it's just depending on your personal preference. Okay, so it took a bit of patience, but I have been stirring my mixture on the stove, playing around with the heat from high to low, and as you can see, it's becoming more of scrambled egg type of mixture, which is what we want. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to remove this from the stove. Stove off. I'm removing the pot from the stove, and what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to add in my 200 grams of walnuts. I'm just going to mix it like this. So it's sort of like a sticky, gooey type of mixture, as you can see. With a whole lot of walnuts. Okay, and that's what you should have in your pot. Right, so our base has been chilling for a while, so it's time to now deposit the filling into the base, right? And we're just going to throw this on top like this. Be careful, it's still hot, so let me get it all in here and even it out just now, just like this. Okay, now we're just going to use our spatula to even it out all over on the sides so that everywhere is taken care of, not only with the nuts but with the syrup as well. It's okay if it's a bit uneven on the top because of the way the nuts are positioned, but it doesn't really make a difference. Okay, I'm just going to try and get some on that side so that we have some syrup. There's still some left in the pot, so I'm going to put that towards the edge where I feel there's some gaps. That's about it. Make sure that before you put it into the oven, you just evenly spreading around the nuts so that it bakes in an even way, so that it looks even when it comes out of the oven. And that's about it. So this tart is now ready for the oven for the second time. We're going to be putting this in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes until the surface gets a bit of some bubbles. Let it cool, and this can be served either hot or cold. See you soon.